Hello, everyone. This is another episode of Natural is F. I'm your host, Dr. Ferrante Frazier, teaching you a sound way of health called natural hygiene. That's what our show surround a hygienic concept of educating ourselves on how to properly restore health to our body without using the approach of the cure mongers. We don't deal with the medicines. We don't deal with the herbs, the supplements, or any of the so-called treatments that have been on mainstream showing us how to cure ourselves of our bad habits or how to cure ourselves of, environmental conditions that are just toxic. We want to thank ATR Media, All Things Relevant Media, for allowing us to always come up here and teach the sound ways of health. So make sure you support ATR Media by liking, sharing, and even donating to keep it airing where we can have all things that's relevant constantly in our community. It's allowing us to freely give you the unadulterated information that you need to really make you aware of what's suppressing you in all areas of your life. So make sure that you go to All Things Relevant Media here on Facebook and go to All Things Relevant Black Media on YouTube and like, share, and follow. And let other people know about that. There's information, unadulterated information out there to help us evolve to higher beings, and that's our whole concept of what we're trying to do in this community of all mankind or all kinds of man. So, with that being said, we have a wonderful show this week. We want to thank all our listeners who tune in every week faithfully. We even want to thank those who look at the video later after it's, they have a chance to get home if they miss it live. We want to thank those who comment, leave suggestions up there. We want to thank all of y'all for the energy that you put forth in making this show what it is, and all those who implement the concepts and principles that we teach here on Natural is F. And those who practice and become more natural is F. And notice that their health start regenerating. They save buku of money, man. You'll save buku of money by changing your lifestyle towards what we teach of natural hygiene, because you're going to save money in the way you're eating. You're going to save money in the way that you're living. um, it doesn't cost. You're not going to be spending money on treatments. You're not going to be spending money on supplements. You're not going to be spending money on remedies and fly by night cures and stuff like that. You're going to Mr. Mark, power and love, thank you for tuning in. Make sure you hit like and share with as many people as you possibly can. Let them know that there is a way to health that we teach. This is the way. It's almost like how Jesus said, I am the way. Well, natural hygiene is the way that every man should follow. A lot of people don't like to say that there's just one way to health. Like, they want to say that each man require different things to keep them healthy, but we're one body. It's just one body, and that body required the same requirements as another body. It all require the elementals: air, water, sun, and earth, which is ideal food that we consume from the earth. We all need rest and relaxation. We all need to stay away from toxic people. We all need to keep the will to live. These are those principles, those primordial requisites that are necessary. This is from the beginning, and we'll be going on till the end of time, are the things that we need. Sea moss and all the quinine and all the laxatives, all the vaccines, all those things are not primordial requisites. Those are not required for human health. Those are just treatments and things that we wish to indulge in to cover up and mask our unhealthy lifestyle habits. There's never is going to be a medicine that can cure our bad habits. It's never going to be a medicine that can, protect us from our environmental toxicosis. Unless we clean up our environments from the way that we're destroying it, we're going to continuously suffer the way that mankind is suffering until we change and modify our lifestyle habits from unhealthy lifestyle habits of eating and drinking and playing and excessive working and all type of other energy depleting and toxic accumulation habits. Until we change that, we're going to constantly suffer the diseases. You're going to hear about all kind of variants of different diseases, all various diseases showing up, all kind of manner of diverse illnesses producing into the world, all because we have the problems that we're having. I want to start off talking about our show, which is teaching holistic nutrition. Holistic nutrition is different than the nutrition that you get from dietetics and you get from those medical nutrition so-called experts. Holistic nutrition deals with true physiology and function of the capacity of your digestive tract. It doesn't try to make of itself work just because it's under some type of teaching out of some textbook. It looks at nature and see how even the animals consume their food for proper digestion and how they intake their just only certain foods that their body is able to digest. Matter of fact, it was once upon a time at one of these wars. I'm believing it was World War I, if I'm not mistaken. But it was one of the World War. So it was either World War I or World War II. But when they were sent over there to fight, the army heads told them, the soldiers who was to go over there, not to eat anything that they don't see the apes and gorillas in the forest eat, in those jungles and stuff like that. They was out there fighting in the jungle. And they said, if you don't see the animals eating it, you eat it. It'll be poison to you. But the animals have a natural instinct to tell the difference between poison and what is okay to eat. We lost that natural instinct as we turn into McDonald's, as we turn into Burger King, as we turn into all these other unnatural foods that we so-called throw into our body. I had a video that we put out not too recently, not too long ago, but it was in a good frame of time that talked about what our show is about today, and how the title of it was how to stop indigestion. If you want to stop the gas, the rumbling in the stomach, and different symptoms of malnourishment, malnutrition, and maldigestion going on, because all that results from improper eating. Hello, ma'am. How you doing, sis? It's my sister just made a comment up there. How you doing, lovely lady? I hope that you share and like as well. I'm glad that you always tune in too, sis. So our show here is holistic nutrition, and what we're gonna talk about is, should we drink with our meals? This is a big conception that we're being fooled with when we look at even the medical model of eating. They tell us to eat these, they have this food plate or this pyramid, and because it was first the pyramid chart, and now they got the food plate. And their food plate is combined with every manner of food. It's like the combination of different items that are placed on this plate. It's no way that those things can digest in that one cavity called your stomach. But this is how they advertise how you should eat. And they also tell you to drink milk, drink some juice, or drink water with the meal. Now, if these people study physiology in any way and understood how the human stomach work, how enzymatic activity work in the stomach, they will more properly tell you to abandon the drinking habit with your meal. Let me get you to understand why hygiene or holistic nutrition teaches that you should not drink with your meal. The question is, should you drink with your meal? But in holistic nutrition, it teaches that the drinking with the meal will favor indigestion. It will cause the food to linger in the stomach longer than it was designed to do if you didn't drink. Now, food that lingers in the digestive tract longer than it's supposed to will start to rot and decay and decompose, ferment. So it's not going to have an ability to digest and be turned into flesh, bones, and blood. So instead of your food that you eat becoming a part of your body, it's rotting inside of you and becoming a source of toxins. And these toxins, they tend to accumulate in our body over a period of time. Now, this accumulation have to somehow drain out of our body. Now, that drainage is going to be in the form of a detox, in the form of an elimination. It might come out draining through your nose, draining through your eyes, draining through your ears, draining through, diarrhea, some type of draining through your skin, coming out of your pores as a stinking funk, So all this drainage is just decomposed matter being eliminated out through various routes that the body deemed necessary to get rid of this accumulation of toxin from our unhealthy digestive tract that is not properly digesting the food. All right. So digestion is the only reason for us to eat the food. That's what the stomach is designed to do, is to break down the food. Now, what is digestion? The term digestion, if we define digestion, it's the breaking down complex materials into simple articles or substances that is easily able to be uptook into the body and be assimilated into new flesh and bone. So digestion is a process, a distribution portal that takes in raw material, bulk material, and separate it and break it down and distribute it out to all the many cells where they can make use of it. But when the ability of the digestive tract is hampered or hindered in breaking down this bulk material, then first of all, you're starving the many cells that are awaiting the substances that it needs to repair itself. It's waiting on the supplies, but there's none coming because the stomach has been hampered in digesting the bulk material that you're eating because of the drinking habit. Now, why is the drinking habit hindering the breakdown of the bulk material? Well, let's look at the enzymes. Certain enzymes that you need to break down certain foods are released in your mouth. That enzyme is usually known as salivary amylase. Amylase or amylase, but it's salivary amylase. Some call it tyline. All right. Now, these enzymes, they break down carbs, the ones that's produced in your mouth, all carbs and sugars and starches. They're broken down right. The beginning of digestion starts in the mouth with carbs. Now, other breakdown, your teeth is the first part of digestion as well, because it got to start breaking the bulk down when you start chewing. So digestion actually starts there as well. And even digestion starts with your eyes. When you see food, your brain starts creating enzymes and juices, preparing the body to take in this food or this bulk material that's about to come in. So when we cover up our food and all type of things, we eating the wrong food, our brain is going to have to either, first of all, not make the proper juices, or prepare to just decompose everything that's coming in, because it's already realized that I'm not about to eat no real food. I'm just about to eat a bunch of trash. So we got to prepare for the incoming trash. All right. But this water or this fluid or this soda, this Coke or this tea or whatever it is that we're drinking with the meal, I mean, it could be some of the cleanest water there is, but it should not be taken with the meal, because that enzyme that we're talking about called amylase. Amylase is a enzyme that's water soluble. When they say water soluble, mean that it dilutes in water. When water and the enzyme is in the same area, the water dilutes it. Just like what you put with sugar and water come together, the sugar disappears. It's diluted in the water. Those crystals of salt, when you put it in the water, it dilutes in the water. So the water renders it less effective. So the enzyme is no longer as strong as it was to do the job that it was designed to do. So here it is, the enzyme is not going to break down the starches. It's not going to break down the carbs. It's not going to break down the sugars in the manner that it was designed to do. So if the sugars are not being broke down, or these complex carbs are not being broke down, then you're going to have a problem. How long should we wait to drink after eating? Coming to that. But I'm going to go ahead and say it now. You should wait, depending on the meal. With fruit meals, we should wait anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour to drink. And then after a starch meal, we should wait 2 to 3 hours after eating to drink. A protein meal, we should wait anywhere from, we should wait about 4 to 5 hours before drinking, because the enzymes that break down proteins are in your stomach, hydrochloric acid. Acid is required to be present where pepsin is going to break down the proteins into amino acids. But these things dilute. The acid is diluted when you're drinking with your meals. So pepsin is never going to be formed in your stomach to digest your protein. So when you drink fluid, the acid that is there to break down the protein is not going to be strong enough, because you dilute it with the drink. And another thing is, when you drink these fluids only stay in your stomach for 10 to 15 minutes. All right. So when all the enzyme that been diluted in that water or in that soda or whatever you've drunken, it's going to go out of the system along with the fluid. The enzyme is going to go out along with it. So the food is just going to be there with nothing to break it down. And so that means that it's going to linger in the digestive tract until you eat something else, or it just ferment and decompose out of your digestive tract. And this is why we have that gas eruption going on, because of the decomposition of the food that we're eating. Why we have that gnawing sensation in our belly is due to the point. Hey, Mr. Bernard, nephew, glad that you're tuning in. Make sure you share with others. But this is why we have all these pains in our digestive tract. I see Mr. Julius say he's going to start eating healthy in January. I want Mr. Julius to start tomorrow. Start tomorrow eating healthy. Let's all start tomorrow. We can do it today. I want to encourage you to do so. But we want to get rid of, and the reason why I say it like that, Mr. Hall, is because an old church song they used to sing, it said, don't put off tomorrow what you can do for the day. That was even a president even said something like that. But it said, tomorrow's sunshine may shine upon your grave. Don't you wait on tomorrow's sun. So don't wait on tomorrow's sun. My encouragement, I encourage you always for help. And I encourage everybody that come around to, go full forth into, healing themselves. let's not put off. We wouldn't put off other things. We wouldn't put off, making money if we knew the exact way to make money. We wouldn't, and we know what health is. We can act like we don't know what health is. I can sit up here and do this show all day long. We could read a whole bunch of books, but deep down in our hearts, we know what health is. We know we got to stop eating all that filth that we're eating. We know we got to stay away from the soul foods and stay away from the buffets and these fast food restaurants and eating all this grease and desserts and potato chips and cookies and stuff. Come on. That's nothing that we have to really be educated on. That's common knowledge, really. We see the people who eating these stuff suffering, and we watch the people that are at the markets and at the parks working out and at the gyms and stuff. Those things, they're eating healthier and they're living healthier, and we see that they're not suffering. I would say, even nephew, to go ahead and live as if, you want to be here tomorrow. Don't live as the day is going to be your last day and you got to eat up everything today. Yeah, we know what you was eating, Mr. Hall. And I told you I wanted you to hurry up and eat it before we start this show. I didn't want to interfere with your eating, because we're going to pretty much show that, the combinations of food, there's no way that stuff can possibly digest. It's like you're just empty eating. We're going to use your example since you put it up there. And I hope you don't mind. But he was saying that he was eating fish and grits. Now, one of those are a starch, and one of them is a protein. You got the fish being a protein and grits being a starch. Now, you got an enzyme I told you in your mouth that breaks down starch, which is amylase, salivary amylase. And then there's an enzyme that is released in your stomach called pepsin and hydrochloric acid. And that's what breaks down the fish, the protein. So the grits is going to be digested by an enzyme in the mouth, and the protein is going to be digested with the enzyme in the stomach. So the first part of mixing the enzyme salivary with your meal, that's why you got to chew it up real good and mix that salivary up with your starches to get a good mixture of amylase in there to start the digestion. And then it goes down as a bolus into your stomach and further digests until starches are turned into simple sugars. The thing about it is the enzyme in the mouth is the reason why it's being released in the mouth is because it can't be released in hydrochloric acid. And the reason why pepsin is released in the stomach is because it needs to be in hydrochloric acid for it to do its job. It can't be in the mouth. Otherwise, it'll be inactive. And when the amylase is in hydrochloric acid, it's going to be inactivated. So they are in the right area to do the job that they need to be done. But they can't mingle together. Otherwise, they're going to deactivate each other. So when you eat carbs and proteins at the same meal, you render the meal undigestible. It's physiologically impossible for that food to digest, because your stomach have to either be alkaline to digest starches, or it have to be acidic to digest protein. And when you eat both, and both are poured out at the same time into this stomach cavity, you neutralize both out. You render the fluids in your stomach neutral, because you just poured alkaline and acid in at the same time, and they're diluting themselves. You dilute the acid and you dilute the alkaline mineral, or you make the alkaline mineral stronger and you make the acid weaker. So nothing is getting accomplished when you eat both of those items or articles of food at the same meal. So when we, that's when we, in our next topic of how many items for each meal. It's real ideal. Well, before we go into that, let's make sure that you see that drinking with the meal renders the meal not able to be digested. And so we have to stay away from drinking with our meals. We drink 10 to 15 minutes prior to the meal, or we wait anywhere from 2 hours to 5 hours after the meal to drink. And that's where we'll get proper digestion. Now, back to what we talked about Mr. Hall's dinner. He was talking about eating tonight. Matter of fact, the meal that I would suggest would have been fish and a salad, leafy greens. So a big salad of lettuce, cucumbers, and bell pepper. That would go well with a piece of protein. Or if you were going to have grits with some steamed vegetables and a salad. You know, that would have been an ideal combination that would digest properly. You know, vegetables are neutral. They can go with either protein or carb. They're not acidic, or neither are they alkaline to a point where they destroy the ability of the food to digest. All right. So those are neutral foods that can go combine with anything. So that's what we need to combine with our protein or combine with our carbohydrates. But how many items should we eat? Now, if you look at animals in nature, they don't combine so many meals together like Mr. Hall said he had 2 items at one time. No animal in nature really does such a thing, put a starch and a carb at the same meal, or even eat more than 2 items at the meal. They go and take what it is they're eating then, and they eat it until they're full. You know, cows, they actually on a mono diet. Their lifestyle is a mono eating, unless they were encouraged to eat something unnatural by the meat industry, having them eating corn and grain and other type of cows and chickens and stuff that they feed them, that we eventually start suffering with mad cow diseases and viruses due to the unnatural way that they're feeding the foods that we're then consuming as food. But how many items for the meal? You know, these animals, they eat their whole life nothing but grass in their natural state, and they live without problems, without illnesses, without suffering, and they are satisfied. You know, other animals do the same thing. Birds, they eat seeds at one part of the day and then eat worms at another part of the day, but they don't mix them, you know. So, and this is even in when we were talking about the alkaline and acidic properties of how your stomach can't digest those type of things. Let's look at beans, for example, and peas. And legumes and different things. Those things are, their combination makeup and nutrition is 50% carbs and 50% protein. Yeah, that's a better combination, you know, to have fish with zucchini and squash. That's a better combination, even though, yeah, because especially if it's zucchini, if you start getting into more carbohydrated squash, like the winter squash, then you have to kind of back away from that a little bit. But when we look at peas and beans and things of that nature, if we look up the nutrition value of those foods, we see that they're 50% carbs and 50% protein. That's the makeup of a bean, of a pea, any type of those so-called seeds of plants and stuff and different things. So it's hard for the digestive tract to alter its digestive juices if it don't know which way to go. It don't know if to go for the protein or go and digest the carb. But it's trying to do both at the same time. And here again, you get a neutralized effect. That's why you notice it's hard to digest beans. It's hard to digest peas. And you get a bunch of flatulence with it. You have a bunch of things that result from the eating of peas. It's hard for us to digest that stuff because it's not ideal food for human consumption. See, food is for us to utilize to repair tissues. But this process has to be an easy process. It shouldn't require huge amounts of energy to gain energy from food. Then it's a waste of eating. It shouldn't require disease and suffering to digest food. That's not a natural food if your body have to go through rigorous torture to digest it just to get an ounce of energy from it. That's not ideal food. Ideal food is going to be something that is easily digested, uptaken into the body, and provide the body with maximum energy, maximum nutrition or nutrients to repair itself, to regenerate itself, and to give it the power that it needs to, function. But if we notice that we eat too many items at a meal, look at how we did at Thanksgiving. We had a smorgasbord of stuff, and we go to these buffets, and they just got everything laid out. And we eat everything all at one sitting. We have to taste everything. Now, every article of food requires a different strength of juice in the stomach to digest that food. So that means that the stomach, the body have to wait, or the stomach have to wait and keep adjusting itself, or the food have to wait until the body adjusts itself to its type of juice to digest it. So guess what's happening if you ate 10 articles of food? The first one required 2 hours of digestion. The other one required 2 hours. But let's say all of them require 2 hours of digestion with a different strength of juice, a different makeup of juice. The conditions of the stomach have to be altered for each article of food. And each one of them required 2 hours. And you got 10 items. That's 20 hours right there of digestion going on. But if you notice that we don't wait 20 hours to allow proper digestion in the stomach of all food. We eat every 2 to 3 hours, and we snack in between that. So we're never allowing proper digestion to go on. So that's another thing that renders us, having problems. We eat too often. We don't give proper time frame to allow the food to digest. And now also think about what's happening to the 10th item. The 10th item have to wait up to 18 hours before its digestion. And guess what it's doing inside your stomach? It's sitting in this warm, wet environment, dark, just sitting there lingering, waiting on its time to be processed. But then while it's doing it, it's still breaking down. It's done been chewed up. Its cells have been already broken and stuff like that. You can't eat an apple, bite into an apple and sit it there and think that it's just going to stay on the shelf as if you never bit it. It's going to start decomposing and breaking down as soon as you bite into it. So imagine if you chew an apple all the way up into little small particles, and it's just sitting in a hot, warm, dark environment. There's decomposition going on. So you imagine what's going on with that food. Oh, you are very welcome. Please share and like. Thank you. It did do a lot in changing my life. And that's why ATR, we love them for allowing us to share this education with a lot of people. But this food is the 10th item in the meal is having to wait 18 hours to digest, before it can even start digestion. So it's just sitting there rotting inside of you. And I'm pretty sure the 9th article is waiting 16 hours to digest. It's rotting too. All the foods are rotting until they have a chance to have the stomach alter itself to digest it. So all these foods have to wait a certain amount of hours. Now, the only one that's properly digested is the first one that was digested. But let's look at that. How is that possible when we don't just eat that one food first and then eat another food next? What we do. I guarantee you, if Mr. Hall was to get up here, he wouldn't have said, well, I ate my fish first, and then after I ate the fish, I went and started eating the grits. Mr. Hall is not going to say that. Mr. Hall probably is going to tell you that he broke a piece of the fish and mixed some grits with it and put it in his mouth and started chewing it. So the fish and the grits is chewed up together and mixed up and bind together. It's not like your stomach have hands to separate that fish and grits when it get down into the stomach. So there's no separation going on. So the stomach can't get to the food item that it need to get to with the enzyme. So here, rotting is still going to go on no matter what. So we're talking about maximizing the digestibility of your stomach by properly eating in a manner that your body can heal. It's not about what all you throw in your system is going, like the stomach is a wood burning furnace, you know, that you just put up with stuff and it's burning up and producing. That's not how it works. You know, your stomach have to modify and adjust itself to digestion and unlocking the potential of the food that you're eating. The enzyme is what actually unlock the potential in those foods that we're eating. But if the enzymes are not able to get to the food, and if it's being diluted and washed out of the body, then there's no digestion that's going to take place. The food is not just going to digest on its own, but it will start rotting if there's no digestion going on. If no digestion is taking place, like if you leave a piece of steak on a shelf in a bag, it's not going to be digested. It's going to start rotting in that bag. And if you look in that bag, you're going to start seeing gas build up. You're going to start seeing maggots and parasites start forming out of the meat. That bag is going to swell up until it almost about to bust. You're going to see wet, crazy looking pus stuff oozing out of the meat and all type of stuff. And so this is the same thing that's going on in our stomachs when that food is not being digested. It's sitting there looking just like that bag. That's why we have the swollen bellies. We have that gurgling noise going on in there and different things of that nature. You know, we start having the drainages through our body because of the decomposition that's going on in our belly. Now, cooked food versus raw food. Yeah, you mix it up, man, Mr. Hall. Say, and it's dessert. Then we eat again before the 18 hours. Yes, desserts. Dr. Shelton, one of the greatest hygienic doctors of all time, and that's who I learned a lot of my information from. If you get a chance, you should look him up. Dr. Herbert Shelton. He taught natural hygiene. He ran a bunch of he ran this hygienic school and hospital where he allowed people to come there and he would fast the individual. But he would always say, dessert the desserts. Leave that alone. If you're going to eat a dessert, let that be before the meal and you abandon the meal. Skip the meal and eat that cookie. Skip the meal and eat that ice cream. But don't mingle those foods. It's a tragedy to your body. It's terrible for you it wouldn't be ideal. Now, you might not feel this stuff at the beginning. Now, kids, they feel it. They throw up. They have eruptions. They get cold. They have asthma and all type of other issues that develop in their body that's not connected to their mode of eating, their mode of living. It's called childhood diseases. It's called, viral infections of being around another child when all their lifestyle habits are the same. These people in the school, they're eating the same school food. They're under the same environment, breathing the same air and stuff. So obviously they start getting sick and producing the same symptoms. So they're just communicable. But let's look at cooked food versus raw food. This is another reason why we have indigestion and improper nutrition in our body, because our body was designed to intake raw material. It's kind of hard to break down food when it has been fused together or denatured. The enzymes are designed to break down the raw materials of protein. It was designed to break down simple sugars that are the raw, simple carbs and complex starches and stuff like that. That's what it was designed to do. But when you heat up carbs, you make it into like a molasses-like goo. It denature the the sugar elements of those starches. So they can't properly be broken down into simple sugars. Because you got to think about it. A complex carb is a bunch of chain of sugars. Like, for example, this is one sugar chain. That's what you call a single sugar, simple sugar. Simple sugar is something like glucose, fructose, levulose. Those are like simple sugars. But then you add another sugar to it, and it becomes a disaccharide. When you got two chains of sugar, they become not a simple sugar anymore. They become a disaccharide. And when you add a third one to them, they become a trisaccharide. All right. So as you keep adding a chain, you keep going up to making it more complex. The more sugars interwoven together makes it more complex. The more complex a carb is, the longer digestion take and the more energy required to unravel those chains of sugar. So this is what digestion is. To digest is to unravel those chains and make them simple sugars, all the chains into simple sugars that can now be uptaken into the body and be used. The body can't uptake while it's still interwoven together. It's not fully digested. That's what you call undigested sugars or carbs. And it's not going to be absorbed into the body undigested. Now, also with protein is not usable by the body unless it's broken down into amino acids. Amino acids is then used for the body to create cell structure and help the cell function. But when you put heat to your fish, Mr. Hall, you destroy the nature of the protein. You bind and fuse those amino acids together. Like, for example, the amino acids are easily separated when they're raw. But when you cook them, you bind them and denature them. It's like you fuse them together, like cooking an egg. An egg, you can't separate that after you fry it. When you put two hairs together, it's hard to pull them apart once you put fire to them. You fuse them together. They can't be separated. So this is the problem with heating your proteins. You denature the amino acids that are in the protein. Now, the protein is a chain with different amino acids connected to it. They're all bonded together. All right. And what the stomach have to do is to break the bonds between those amino acids. But when you cook them, you destroy the bond and fuse the amino acids together so they no longer can break apart properly and be used by the human body. So cooked food versus raw food is not ideal for human digestion. Now, if the proteins or the amino acids are not properly broken down, then they become a source of issues in your body. They can't be used. If the food can't be used once you ingest it, and it can't be used, then it's a source of toxin. Anything that is inside the human domain that the human domain cannot utilize, and it's there, it's in the way. It's going to be a source of problem, a source of suffering, a source of disease. So these amino acids, denatured, are going to have to be stored some way if they can't be eliminated out of the body. And they're usually, you'll say, left off into like fatty tissue. They're stored in fatty tissue. They're stored in joint areas, out of the way. They're always stored in out of the way areas. They're going to be in joints. You're going to be down in your toe joints. And when they build up and irritate those joints, you start having inflammation in those areas. They irritate them to inflammation. So you start having gout in your toes and your feet and your ankles and your knees. You start having arthritis in your hands and different other itises going on in your shoulders, in your neck, all in your joint areas from the accumulation of uric crystals and denatured amino acids that have been stored in these areas that's irritating them into inflamed feeling. So this is going to be a source. Proper nutrition not only help feed your body and stop it from starving, but it also protects you from producing disease and destroying your body in the process as well. So two things going on when we're not eating properly. We're starving our body from properly getting the nutrition it needs, and we're also accumulating toxins that we also weaken and destroy cells and tissue. So it's ideal that we eat foods that are more raw, as much as possible. That's why I tell a lot of people to always put a salad with your diet. Now, I'm going to tell you what I had today. What I had, well, first 2 days ago, 3 days ago, we had started a fast where we fasted for 2 days. We didn't eat anything but just drink water. And then we came off of it with 2 bananas. I ate 2 bananas to break the fast. And then later that day, I had maybe 2 pomegranates and a quarter of a pineapple, but it was juice. And I sipped on the juice slowly. And this is just to get this digestive tract back in action. And so everything so far since I've been eating was raw. I ain't had to cook anything. Everything was in its natural state, in other words. So we know that food, it has a better chance to digest. And then if you notice, when I told you I ate 2 bananas. I didn't say I eat bananas, strawberries, apples, pears, peaches, and plum. I didn't have a fruit salad, or I didn't eat the whole orchard in one bowl. I didn't mix it with no meat. I didn't mix it with no rice and avocados or anything like that. I just ate the one article of food, so the stomach can adjust itself to that banana and digest it and get it done and use that material. See, I don't have to get all the vitamins and minerals at each meal. I can get what a banana offer at this meal by eating a whole bunch of bananas and store it up. And then I can go eat apples and eat all that I need out of that and store up the vitamins and minerals that it houses. And then I can go to grapes and I can pull out all this nutrients and store it into my body. And it's going to be better because the body can deal with it better. It can focus on and digest one item better than it can focus on 2 items. Just like you can talk to one person better than you can talk to 2 people. You can talk to one person better than you can talk to 3 people. You can talk to 2 people better than you can talk to 4 people. So the more individuals you have to talk to, it gets almost impossible. So the same thing with the digestive ability of digesting more items at a mealtime. So we should cut our items down to either mono eating or eating as simple as possible. No more than 2 to 3 items at a meal. And those items should be compatible with each other. Starches can be eaten with green leafy vegetables and tender leaves. And other so-called vegetables like squash and different things of that nature. Protein can be eaten the same way, but just not with carbs. You don't eat carbs and proteins together. Fats shouldn't be eaten with fruits. And the fruits should be eaten by themselves. You shouldn't combine fruits. I watch a lot of people, once they get finished eating a big crazy meal, they, I guess, feel bad about eating all that toxic food and now say, I need some fruit. I need to get healthy. And then they go and get a big plate of watermelon or a whole bunch of oranges and cantaloupes and stuff and sit down there and gorge on the fruit after they have ate a whole bunch of chicken ribs and oxtails and all kind of other stuff. But the fruit is going to spoil while it's waiting to get, they can't get by all that chicken and pork chops and honey buns and all type of other stuff. All right, so let me finish this up because we got a little more, one more subject that we want to hit on, and we running out of time here. But make sure you hit like and share, and make sure you follow us weekly where we can provide you with the best information on health. You know, we got tired of just sitting there keep talking about the vaccine and the virus. We ain't got time to keep talking and debating about ignorance. What we're just going to do is just teach the people how to live healthy where they never suffered no disease or suffer from that, where they can just live, you know, uninterrupted with unadulterated health. But our next point is salt and spices and condiments added to your food. When we eat these foods and we add salts and spices and different condiments, we mask the food. The body no longer know what it's tasting. You know, it doesn't taste meat or anything like that. You know, definitely share, but it doesn't. Hello, how you doing? Oh, excellent, excellent. That's what we want to do. We want to make sure that people have. That's our thing, is to change the thought pattern. Once you change the programming from a medical mentality and take it to a holistic mentality, you'll see the errors and why people are suffering under the medical state of being, because they're not being taught properly. And all the medical doctors, all they want to do is think that they can solve everybody's issue with drugs and poison, but they neglect the requirements of health, the conditions for health. And that's where we come in with properly educating. We're educators at the end of the day. We don't provide no drugs whatsoever, no treatments or anything. We just teach the rightful way of doing things. Natural orthopathy is right action, upright living, you know. That's why we call it natural hygiene, because it's natural. It's found in nature. People breathing fresh air, people getting sun exposure, people eating the food that was designed for their human consumption. You know, not eating, you don't see no animal in nature cooking their food. We're the only animals in nature that cook food. And we're not in nature because we've taken ourselves out of nature. That's why we're suffering. All those who stay in nature in their natural instinct, they're not suffering. They're living, beautiful lives. And like I said, they don't cook. They don't add spices and salts and condiments to their food. But when we add these things to our food, we mask the identity of the food to our stomach, to our brain, and everything. The smell of the food even changed from the seasonings and spices and different garnishes that we put on our food. So our body cannot properly adapt to what it is that we're eating. And then a lot of these spices and seasonings are irritants. Mostly all of them are irritants. If we put them into our eye, if we was to put salt into our eye, it'll burn. If we put it into a cut, it would burn. The smell of pepper causes you to start sneezing. Cutting up onions and different things have you crying. Garlic and all these things burn and irritate the delicate linings that are outside of our body. So what do we think that it's doing to the delicate lining of our digestive tract? Yeah, it causes your blood to flow better. Yeah, it said, oh, my blood is flowing better because I done took this garlic. I guess so, because if it don't, you're going to die from the irritation that the garlic is doing. More blood flow to a wound that you get on your hand. If you scrape it and cut it, more blood is going to flow there because of damage. To have more blood flowing in the area is due to irritation. Let's look at people who smoke weed or smoke dope or smoke any type of drug. They stimulate their mind. They tell you, I'm stimulating my mind, Craig. Well, what is stimulation? Stimulation is irritation. To stimulate something, I got to irritate it. You stimulate that backside. Or irritated by slapping it and getting you to go to work. So stimulation is to gourd, to irritate something, to force it into more action, but coming with force, you do damage. If something is already tired and fatigued and you force it into action, then you're going to damage it. And then you're going to require more of the irritant to keep getting the same action until you become an imbecile and having no action at all in that organ or tissue. It becomes useless. without able to move at all. But these condiments and these salts and spices were once drugs. Salt was a drug. You know, these peppers and spices, you couldn't buy no salt at no 39 cents for a thing back in the days. You know, that used to be some really expensive stuff. Only kings and queens could use that type of stuff. And that was to force people into eating. It was a preservative. It was an embalming fluid. You know what I mean? People would preserve meats and different things by putting a bunch of salt around it. You know, they would make, what you call it, embalming fluid with salt and baking soda. That's how they used to preserve mummies and different things in Egypt, in Ethiopia. So all these are preservatives, and they should not be taken into the human body, because what that preservative doing is drawing out all the fluid out of the cells and tissue. It's dehydrating the body. It's dehydrating that ham that you put all that salt around that ham, and it draws the water out of that ham and preserves it. It ages it and causes it to decompose. So imagine us eating a bunch of salt and peppers and different things, and it going into our body, and it's dehydrating our cells and tissues, causing premature aging and you know, damage and decomposition to our cells and tissue. And our digestive juices don't properly digest when we're have these salts. They're irritating the stomach. They don't be released when when the body don't know that that's what's coming in, because it's masked now. So you're not going to have no enzyme, no amylase released in the mouth, because it's not tasting carbs. It's tasting some, you know, sugar and some other stuff. You know what I'm saying? If the body is tasting abnormal seasonings and stuff like that, it's not going to know how to adjust itself to digest the food that you're actually eating. So that food lingers in your body. And guess what food does when it lingers in your body? I said it about 30 times since we've been on the show today. It sits and starts to rot, decomposes. It becomes a source of toxin. And these toxins then have to be either accumulated in your body and stored, causing irritation and inflammation in your body. Oh, I got pain here. Oh, I'm hurting here, and all type of stuff. Or it have to be drained out of your body in the form of a detox. Achoo, coughing, sneezing, runny eyes, and different stuff that you go to the doctor and he tell you got the coronavirus or something like that, or got some type of virus. But really all you got is decomposition, parasitic growth and viral growth from the decomposition of the toxic foods that you're eating that's not properly digestion. So I want to thank you for tuning into this show. If you want to maintain health and keep it, you know, go to Holistic Mentality and study holistic nutrition. We are trainers and educators of holistic health right here in Savannah under the umbrella called Savannah Natural Health. We've been teaching it over a decade now here in this community. We've helped a lot of people reverse their symptoms of disease. We helped a lot of people restore their bodies back to full functioning power. We have no cures. We have no type of remedies. We have no treatments. But we have the education that you need to restore your body back fully to functioning power, provided you follow the teachings of natural hygiene. I want to thank all our listeners. Y'all have a great week, and I'll see y'all next week. I love y'all. Best of health and happiness.